Peace was good. What's happening? What's up with the peoples? Welcome to Battle Boy Media, man, where we stay woke or wake up. Just want to vibe with y'all for a few, like see what's going on with the peoples. What's on your mind, man? Hopefully everybody's alright out there. Yeah, man. I know it's been a minute since the last vid, but we here right now, man. Just gonna give some people a chance to actually pull up and see what's on the topic for the day. So um we gonna just flow right on through. Appreciate you. Um First and foremost, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Um we're gonna be doing a lot of different things, man. Just stay tuned, man. Definitely hit the notification bell, subscribe, like, share, comment, and engage. And I appreciate y'all, man. But as y'all can see, the title of the vid is, how hip hop impacted my life growing up. So I'm not sure. A lot of you guys probably don't follow me on Instagram, but as of late, I've been I've been posting videos, hip hop videos from the era of, let's say, the mid '80s into like the early '90s. And when you listen to things as a child, it definitely hits different when you older and you have a more mature ear of what it is that you're listening to, right? So while I'm doing these vids and posting them on Instagram, like, I'm listening to the song, and mind you, I haven't listened to these songs in quite a while, with the exception of a few. Um, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, yo, wow, like, I'm trying to like connect the dot, like what had my mind gravitate into listening to the music that I was listening to. Of course, I got a lot of beatings for the type of music that I chose to listen to. Uh, Shout to NWA. And trust me, it's no regrets, and that definitely wasn't a shot. And throughout the duration of the video, I'm gonna actually let y'all know how it wasn't a shot. And why I say thank you. Also, um, first of all, let me just say, shout out to hip hop. Shout to hip hop. Y'all tap that like button. I'm about to, connect a little dot on how things resonated with me when it comes to the music. Um, so definitely shout to hip hop. Shout to that era, the mid '80s era into the early '90s era of hip hop too. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I might do a follow up to this vid right here, depending on how I'm able to get my point across to you guys, right? So, like I said, I was definitely as of late, I've been posting a lot of old school hip hop, um, just letting it be known the type of music that I grew up off of. And it got so real in my thought that I had to like grab pen and paper and jot down certain things so I won't miss my line of thought and the point that I'm trying to drive to y'all. Um, so okay, I want to highlight the positive stuff that I feel that I soaked up from hip hop, just from listening to the likes of NWAs, the KRS Ones, the Big Daddy Kanes, the MC Lights, the Brand Nubians, the Daz Effects, um, the Heavy D's, the Cool Mo D's, the Redman, um, the Eric B's and Rakims, the De La Souls, the Jungle Brothers, etc., etc., etc. All right. So, quick story time, right? I remember being young and listening to LL Cool J's I Need Love. I Need Love. Now, mind you, I'm salutes to LL Cool J, QGTM. If you know, you know. IYKYK. Um, I Need Love was one of those songs that I don't know what made me gravitate towards it, but something made me Google the year that the song came out. And if I'm not mistaken, it was 1987. In 1987, I wasn't even in my double digits. But for some reason, I gravitated towards I Need Love. So, the highlights and the positives that I received from all those rappers and rap groups that I just finished mentioning was um definitely vocabulary. Listening to hip hop definitely made me go to go to the dictionary, because back then it definitely wasn't no Google and all this technology stuff that we actually have access to right now. So I looked up a lot of the words that I was listening to because I didn't know what it meant, and if I chose to use it, I want to make sure that I'm using it in its right form. So definitely vocabulary, a sense of self-worth, knowledge of self, drug awareness, AIDS awareness, confidence, black love, style and swag, black pride, black awareness. Now, for each one of those positive footnotes that I just finished mentioning to y'all, right? I wanted to pinpoint a song that I grew up listening to from the era of the mid 80s to the early 90s, so you guys can like understand where it is that I'm coming from. So with the vocabulary, I'm gonna have to go with KRS-One, just off the strength of me hearing philosophy. Are you a philosopher? Yes. Yeah, like, again, at that time, I'm not even in my double digits of age. So me hearing the word like philosophy and philosopher, I'm like, whoa, like, you know. And during that era, looking up words, it was like nonstop, because a lot of the people, I feel a lot of the artists from that time was definitely intelligent. And I'm not saying that um rappers nowadays are not intelligent. It's just the eras was just totally different. So definitely with the vocabulary, I would definitely have to say KRS-One, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane. Um, Definitely had me inside the dictionary, looking words up so I could like define it and know what it actually meant. Self-worth and knowledge of self. I'm gonna have to go with Rakim, the Big Daddy Kane. Um, Knowledge of self, self-worth. Queen Latifah. Um, Definitely MC Light as well too. And a host of others. I could go on and on and on and on, but again, I just want to identify certain things. With the self worth and the knowledge of self, when I mentioned like, the Queen Latifah's, like, she was definitely, and the MC Lights, like, they're giving it up from a standpoint of a woman. Ladies first. UNITY, love a black woman, I think she said from infinity to infinity, etc., etc. So it's like, even then in the dictionary as well too, infinity, infinity. Let's see, drug awareness, AIDS awareness. I'm gonna have to give that the KRS-One as well. Just the other day, again, like I just finished mentioning, like I posted a song, I'm actually a video with KRS-One, and the song was called Jimmy, and it's pretty much explaining and talking about sex and protection using condoms. Jimmy hats are now in style because you can't trust a big butt and a smile. So again, I'm not in my double age of no, I'm not in my double digits of age at that time. So I'm definitely not comprehending what he's talking about. But I was going outside a little something, so I definitely was familiar what Jimmy was back then. Dig what I'm saying? So the drug awareness as well as I'm gonna have to identify that with Brand Nubian. Slow down. During the crack epidemic between the mid '80s into the '90s for me, there were a lot of songs, hip hop songs that was coming out that was making us aware of what was actually taking place. Um, the song "Slow Down" from Brand Nubian. The crackheads, they knocking at my door. I don't smoke germs, so what they knocking for? Like, nice and smooth. Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. Was definitely bringing awareness to what was going on around us. When I was on the road doing shows, getting ends, she was in my Benz getting sniffy with her friends. And even when she crashed my whip, I didn't flip. Like he's making us aware of how a person responds from being addicted to drugs, and him having a relationship with a woman that was addicted, um, that he was in a relationship with. So another highlight, it brought awareness to a lot of the things that we was actually seeing in the neighborhoods growing up, and for someone or for people to be able to like relate to and relay the message to in the art form of rap that touched, not even teenagers. Dope artistry. You gotta love it. On to the next positive that I highlighted for hip hop. Confidence. Confidence. I would have to say that Big Daddy Kane. He rapped and rhymed in a smooth tone, but it was definitely raw. And especially for, a brother that was representing, the darker brothers, like for some reason, like I was able to gravitate towards it and relate. Um, and in a sense, because I got teased and made fun of when I was a kid, for being dark at a time where dark skin wasn't really popping, even though I appear to you guys as brown skin right now, but back then I was darker. All right, so we're gonna say I also highlighted love, black love. Again, love, and this is just recently this morning that I identified that with LL Cool J, I Need Love. I remember, singing that song again, and I want to constantly reiterate that I was not in my double digit ages yet. So I remember, my mother hearing me sing the song I Need Love, like, you know, and she would just look at me like, she would look at me in a sense like, what you know about what you sing? And that's the type of look that she would give me. And in my mind, I'm looking at her like, man, you old. You don't know nothing about this thing right here. But I never said those words, but I could see how, she was looking at me by me repeating certain words that I probably didn't understand then. But her being a mother and as an adult, she was able to understand and was like, yo, what is this kid listening to that made him feel like he needs love? Like, definitely, I need love. Black love is another positive highlight that I put down. And I want to say black love, black awareness, um, comes from the NWAs, um, the Big Daddy Kane, the Public Enemies, the black awareness. Um, how could I forget Public Enemy? Shout the Public Enemy. Flavor Flav, Chuck D. Um, so again, you gotta factor in, you know, a 8 year old, a 9 year old, a 7 year old hearing this type of music and how much of a sponge of the mind is soaking in all of this and continue to grow with it as hip hop continue to get older and older. Um, I also got down here struggle and pain. Um, and I automatically thought about MC8, straight up menace. Um, there was a lot of relation there as well too from me growing up that I gravitated towards that song. At home it's the same old story. Moms treat me like she don't even know me. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuck. And it's not to say that my mother treated me like she didn't know me. It's just that, my mother was one of those hardworking women where everything was just work, 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 work. And it left a lot of room for us to play, 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 play. And you know what comes with a lot of play, like, being outside, seeing certain things or whatever the case may be. So it's like, I'll be lying if I say that my mother was present but absent in my life. But um hip hop definitely played somewhat of a father figure role within the household that was teaching me about vocabulary, that was teaching me about um sex, putting on condoms, protecting yourself, black love, education, building my vocabulary. Even though I was learning that stuff in school, for some reason, when it's coming out of a speaker or I'm watching it on video music by shout to Ralph McDaniel too. Um, it just spoke to me in a different tone, and it definitely had my undivided attention. Um, I also want to highlight in the chaos of the crack epidemic and the police brutality, um, and even going into the Rodney King incident. Um, of course, hip hop definitely attacked those topics and let their voices, be heard, be known, to bring awareness to a little old 7, 8, or 9 year old me, you know. Um, so I've been aware of a lot of things, so much to the point where I was able to identify and connect a lot of dots when it came to me walking through my projects and my mother's holding my hand crossing the street and how nervous she'll get when she'll see an officer and like try to like bring me in closer to her, you know. I was able to understand why she clutched me, based off of hip hop and me being able to identify certain things. Um, and self destruction, right? Aside from me actually seeing brotherhood and unity amongst my elders and my OGs and my projects, right? Um, to hear it being bumped through a speaker or watched on television, self destruction was one of those things that helped me correlate unity, communion. Um, I grew up around that. I grew up seeing that, whether it's wrong, positive or different. I definitely grew up seeing unity. Um, but self destruction, to see the who's who in that era of that time of hip hop get together and put a song together called Self Destruction, that was powerful for me as a kid. That was powerful. So, and I'm saying this in a sense of how impactful hip hop is slash was to my life and so many others, even up until this day, even though hip hop is not hip hop from that era. Um, Also, yeah, that covered that part. That covered that part. Not to mention, um, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of harsh truths when it comes to reality, right? Um, and this is why there's so much emotions when someone is being told the truth. It doesn't sit well with individuals. It doesn't sit well with people. The truth didn't sit well with me when I was ignorant, so I'm no different. I'm definitely included, but once you woke, or you wake up, in a sense, like, you start to take accountability for a lot of things. Um, Quick story time. I remember listening to NWA. Like, I had an older brother um that took a lot of trips out, to the West Coast in the mid 80s, late 80s. And this is how I got introduced to a lot of the West Coast music, that I know of. So a lot of the, music that I put on my Instagram that you guys are seeing, I know you guys are probably wondering, like, yo, why is he playing so much West Coast music? Like, who are these dudes? Things of that nature. That influence came from, my brother taking those trips back and forth to Cali and coming back, to Brooklyn. So that brought in um, the, the types of hip hop music that I listen to. Um, but quick story time, like, I got a lot of beatings for listening to NWA. Because they rhymed in a revolutionary aspect, stand for your right aspect of hip hop as young black men. Um, and I felt it so much, like, I didn't even realize I was cursing, but I would every now and again, once I get to a part, like, I would hear my mom's. I hope you know your effing book, like them songs. She be cursing me out of, when it got too much, like, she'll just beat me. I definitely got a lot of beatings for listening to NWA in particular. Um, Especially with the F the police coming straight from the underground. A young got it bad cause I'm brown. As soon as she hear me say that, it's over. Um, so in conclusion, right? I just felt the need to expound on hip hop and a lot of the positives that it actually had on my life, right? And I could have definitely went into a lot more of the positives, but I was jotting down footnotes from earlier, and I'm like, yo, wow, like, I'm gonna make this out to be a whole project, and I didn't really want to do it. I just wanted to, come on here and just share this with you guys real quick. But I found myself, getting a notebook and pad, and just, like, writing down little mental notes so I could make sure I could step on certain things so it could, drive the point home. So for that much, I definitely want to say thanks to hip hop, the Boogie Down Bronx, the birthplace of it, and all that played their part in the shaping and molding it into an art form of life lessons. It definitely didn't go ignored. Um, and you guys taught a lot of people well. Me being one of them. Um, I think the next part of this episode that I'm gonna do is when hip hop changed from that era into the next era of hip hop. Definitely, I appreciate everybody tapping in. Do like, share, subscribe, set the notification bell, know when I'm actually going on. YouTube, tap in. We got a lot of different type of content um, that we're going to be rolling out and presenting to the peoples. Um, I appreciate you guys. Let me make sure that I'm not leaving anything out, man. Y'all already know Battle Boy Media. Stay woke or wake up. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it on a nutshell, man. And it's not to say that hip hop lost its way. It just went away from where it originally started from. And it's not to say it's a bad thing, even though a lot of bad done took place in that next era of hip hop. But it's no shooting things down because the world evolves, man. And we're not pointing fingers here, man. We each one teach one, learn from one another, and pass the tools down. So we could put ourselves and our future ones in better positions to not repeat certain things that we actually repeated. But you know, we gonna pump what's only right and leave the poison alone. You heard? Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Do set that notification bell. Stay woke or wake up. Battle Boy Media, man. I appreciate y'all.